Hello, welcome to today's video. Today we'll be delving into one of the most important aspects of public speaking. In fact, I dare say it's one of the most important tools in the toolkit of public speaking. And guess what it is? Storytelling. Yes. So storytelling is very important because whether you're giving a speech or you're doing a presentation or you're just communicating, storytelling has remained the all-time powerful tool that makes the world go round. It captivates your audience and helps to make your message unforgettable. Now, this is the powerful thing about storytelling. And so, because stories actually go a long way to engage your audience and help them to imagine and go with you on a journey into that space where you're actually sharing. And you see, the thing is, it helps us to connect with our audience at another level. So, research has actually shown over the years that people remember stories much more than they remember facts and statistics. This is very interesting. And so, storytelling for me helps to build trust and it makes your message impactful. You need to understand how important it is because if you learn how to use stories effectively, then you will be that unforgettable speaker that everyone will always clamor to hear whenever you want to speak. And they'll look forward to your next engagement because they know that you're going to take them on a voyage called storytelling. So let's get into some of the key elements of how you can craft a great story. Or what are those things that make for a great story? Let's look at that. Every good story must have three very important components. Number one is the structure. Every good story must have a structure. When we talk about structure, we're talking about having a clear beginning, a middle, and an end. So you start from somewhere, you take people on a journey, and then you tell them the middle of that journey and how it's brought to an end, how it closes out. So these are very important elements in your story. So the structure is very critical, and you need to learn how to build that structure. I'm going to be sharing tips on how you can do that as we progress in this video. The second thing that is very important is emotion. Now, emotion makes your audience feel something. You need to ensure that when you tell your story, they feel joy or they get curious or they feel surprised. There must be some form of emotion that your story will convey. Otherwise, it's not a good story. Yeah. So your story must work with emotion because you see, if people don't feel something, they don't retain nothing. It's very important. People need to feel something. That's why stories are easily remembered. Facts doesn't really make you feel anything. You're like, well, what do we do? But stories come with emotion. So the second important element of storytelling is emotion, and you must ensure that when you tell your story, there must be an emotion. It mustn't be sad. It could be joyful, it could be, but let there be an emotion. Okay, so you can check out the 6 key emotions that we have and make sure that your story resonates with either of them. And sometimes it could have 2, 3, 4 emotional displays in the course of sharing your story. The third thing is relatability. People will not retain the information you share through storytelling if your story do not connect to their experience. Okay, so their experiences and interests must be taken into account. And when you share stories, because we're human beings generally, we have a cross in a connection. There's a meeting point where every human being can relate to something that happened to him or her. So for example, tragedy is something that we're familiar with, joy is something we're familiar with, pain is something we're familiar with, loneliness is something we're familiar with. So your story conveys anything it must convey has to be something that is relatable with your audience. If you share a story and they can't connect with it, they can't relate to it, then you've just lost your audience attention because they're going to be wondering what you're saying. So your story must be relatable. You must look at the kind of audience you're sharing with and say and tell stories that resonate with that age bracket. Okay, if you're talking to Gen Z and you're sharing a story that falls between those who were baby boomers, it won't resonate with them. They won't understand it. They really will not. So you need to understand these dynamics in storytelling. So let's get on to how you can craft a very good story. How do you craft your story? You start with personal anecdotes or real life examples. I share a lot of stories, and even when I present, when I coach, when I teach, when I give speeches, I always connect my speeches with stories, and some of them are real life experiences. Yeah, but I look for experiences that I have had that can connect and resonate with the audience, all right, because they add authenticity to your presentation or your speech. This is very, very important. That's the first thing, right? Start with personal anecdotes or real life examples. Number two, keep it concise, right? Don't overload your story with details that distract from the main message. I have heard people tell wonderful stories, and before you know what's happening, they're telling us all the details, the histories, the things they've been through, and before you know it, the message, even they themselves struggle to get back to the key point that they were trying to raise. So don't overload your story with so much details. Stay on the plan, stay on the course, and remember, every story you want to tell, there is a purpose and there is something you want to achieve with that story. Do not lose sight of it. So keep it concise. That's the second thing. The third thing I'd like to share with you is practice your delivery. Remember, it's very important to know this, that practice, they say, makes perfect. No, Vince Lombardi said, perfect practice makes perfect. I love that quote. Perfect practice makes perfect. So you need to practice your delivery. Do not assume that it's your story and so you can tell it. You need to practice so you know at what point the story comes in and how best you will end and connect back to your presentation. This is very important. And then the fourth thing you need to learn or you need to do is use vivid descriptions and sensory details. When I talk about sensory details, I'm talking about details that will paint a picture in your listener's mind, details that will retain the message in their mind. So use vivid descriptions, use sensory details that when they remember your story, they can connect to the main point. They can connect with you and say, oh, wow, I attended the program today, and the speaker, he told us a story that I can't forget. That is because you used very vivid details in describing the scenarios, and the sensory details were such that is stuck in their mind. Now, this is very important. So let's see how you can actually get feedback, practice your storytelling, and get good feedback in course of doing that. The first thing I always recommend to my clients is record your story and watch it yourself. Record your story and watch it. Play back, sit down, watch it, and assess yourself first of all. Before you ask feedback or get feedback from anyone else, you do the assessment first. When you do that, you'll be able to tell, will this resonate with people? Be honest. That's the truth. Just be honest with yourself. And then the second thing you do is ask trusted friends or mentors for feedback on clarity and engagement. Ask for feedback on clarity and engagement. Am I very clear? Am I speaking in a way that people will connect with me? These are things you need to put into perspective when you engage with your friends or your mentors, and they're going to tell you frankly, oh yeah, I like this part, but you need to adjust here or there. When you get this kind of feedback, you'll become better at your game. And then third thing you need to do is try telling your story in different ways to see what resonates best. Okay, what is in your mind may be great, but if you check again and tweak it a little bit, you might just find something far, far better than what you had initially. Now, this is something very interesting that you need to do. And if you do all of the things that I've shared with you, and if there's anyone you've forgotten, this video is always here for you. You can just go back and start all over again, or get to the point where you missed something out and listen in again and watch the video again. So now that you have learned all of these things, it's your turn to actually share a story that you've used during the presentation, or you intend to use, by the way, in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video. Do not forget to subscribe to this video, and most importantly, hit the notification bell right down there so you get the notification whenever we upload new videos in this sphere. You will always be the first to know when new videos are uploaded. And I want to say thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video, where we will be exploring how to overcome speaking anxiety. Until then, keep practicing and keep telling your story. It is called Your Story, so you tell it. See you around. Enjoy. Bye bye.